folks, and welcome back to your home port. This past weekend saw Wargaming put up a public test server to allow players to try out what's planned for the next update in World of Warships and give feedback on what they liked and didn't like. One of the big changes here are submarines, something I've been excited to see come to the game since they were first talked about as a future reality, I don't know, last year sometime I think it was. Anyway, they were available in the test server. Tier 6 models only for this round of testing from the US, Soviet Russia, and Germany. I, of course, gravitated to the U-boat, U-69, first, as my bias for German equipment shines through as predictably as ever. United States sub is the USS Cachalot, and for the Soviets, we have the S-1. All of these boats' capabilities were very similar, but with some definite differences. Instead of running through the specs line by line, I'll give you the summary of the boat's characteristics. I mean, this is test server, and none of these specs are guaranteed to remain the same. In fact, there's a far better chance of them changing than remaining the same, I think. The submarine's offensive capabilities in this game come from their torpedo armament, which has an acoustic guidance capability you need to activate by hitting your intended target with a well-aimed sonar ping. This first ping that makes contact will direct the torpedoes in the direction of your target. If you manage to hit the second sonar bullseye on your target, your torpedoes will now adjust their depth to what is optimum for your target. If you don't manage that second sonar strike, your torpedoes will travel at the depth you launched them from. For this reason, I tend to launch most of my torpedoes from periscope depth, or about 5.5 meters under the water. When launching from this depth, you can aim your torpedoes with the classic style with a lead indicator to give you some guidance. Defensive measures available to submarine commanders are threefold. Your first, as in the real world, is stealth. Having the small hit point pool that they do, submarines are safest when they are not detected. Launch your torpedoes from a distance to avoid detection. The second is depth. Just being submerged between the 6 and 30 meter depth reduces your detectability twofold. Be careful though, as at 6 meters you are still vulnerable to shell fire, particularly high explosive. Deeper than 30 meters, the sub is invisible, unless a nearby ship is operating their hydroacoustic search consumable. But a sub at this depth no longer receives data from allies on the locations of enemy ships and cannot detect aircraft. Be aware also that when submerged, your sub can only detect ships within a certain radius, and only those that are within a direct line of sight. If you are unfortunate enough to have depth charges dropped on you, operating at your sub's max depth by engaging the max depth consumable reduces the damage taken, fortunately. Your third defensive measure is maneuverability. Since torpedoes have limited maneuverability, like rapid depth change for instance, a sub with good ascent and dive rates can use this to avoid torpedoes fired at them at their current depth. This is more effective than trying to outturn torpedoes, I have found. Now let's talk about each submarine. For the United States, we have the Cachalot, which is quite maneuverable in 2 dimensions, but not nearly as good as the U-69, let's say, when it comes to dive and ascent rates. And this spec is crucial for avoiding torpedoes. Cachalot's own torpedoes have the longest range, the fastest speed, and the longest reload. That reload and the lackluster dive and ascent rates negate using her as a knife fighter, despite her top speed and top turn rates. Cachalot is nicely suited for getting to a cap point quickly and harassing enemies from a safe distance. S-1, the Soviet offering, is very similar to the German sub in many ways. They even look like they're related. Similar is not the same though. S-1 feels like the middle ground of the three, falling between Cachalot and U-69 in many categories, while U-69 feels like the knife fighter to me. U-69 can pull right up to a cap and start pounding out torpedo salvos every 60 seconds. That's best in class at this point. And while they are the shortest range of the three, and the slowest at 58 knots, when used around a cap zone, neither of these shortcomings make much difference in that arena. They pack the biggest wallop by far of the three, and when combined with how many of them she can flood a cap zone with, that makes her very dangerous. U-69 also has the best dive and ascent rates of the three, able to change her depth very quickly, which is great for avoiding torpedoes headed your way. Well folks, there you have it. Just some general impressions from the recent public test server and the submarines that are coming to the game. Until they're in the normal game, there wouldn't be much point discussing the subs a lot further. When the specs have been finalized, I'll do a full review on each sub and discuss both tactics, offensive and defensive. Take care, I'll catch you next time.